Welcome to the Shir Lekutei Siches through Project Lekutei Siches. We begin now a new krach, Chelek of Aleph. We're starting with Parshas Beshalach. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach. We will go through this krach of Lekutei Siches with all the other krachim, the Torah of the Rebbe, al manas to finish all of the Rebbe Siches. It's been 3 years now since we began koching and learning. Thousands and thousands of Chassidim all over the world are learning the Siches of the Rebbe through Project Lekutei Siches. There's a story told regarding the picture of the Alter Rebbe, or the painting of the Alter Rebbe, when it was brought to Lubavitch. So there was a debate regarding the accuracy of the painting. And the mashpia then in the yeshiva, Rab Hendel, told them that the debate is out of place. If you want to have the accurate painting, the accurate picture, image of the Alter Rebbe, that's in the Sefer Atanya that the Alter Rebbe wrote. Learning the Rebbe Siches is the most direct and deepest way to connect to the Rebbe himself. Project Lekutei Siches has brought and continues to bring the Siches of the Rebbe with many resources to thousands and thousands of Chassidim all over the world, connecting Chassidim to the Rebbe in the most direct and deepest way. This upcoming week, you're going to have the opportunity to participate in supporting Project Lekutei Siches. I'm sure you'll participate, we will all participate generously in Project Lekutei Siches and help continue Chassidim learn and koch in the Rebbe Siches and connect to the Rebbe in the most deepest way, and to bring the Rebbe down Lamata Masaret Tvachim to continue speaking and telling us holy Siches on all areas in Torah. With this chus, you should be zeiche all to have kol mili de meitav, all the brachas of the Eibishter, begashmias and beruchnias, and everything that you need. So let's get to the sicha for this week. We're learning the second sicha, or actually it's the first sicha. I'm always used to saying the second sicha, but here we're learning the first sicha of Parshas Beshalach in Chelek Tezayin on page 77. The shir today is being learned Lila Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Rab Menashe Koltman. From Pasuk Vayasa Moshe es Yisrael me Yamsuf. So the Pasuk says that Moshe Rabbeinu brought Yidden to travel away from the Yamsuf. Steht in Medrash, or the Medrash explains what does Vayasa mean. It doesn't say Vayisa that they journeyed or traveled away from the Yamsuf, but Vayasa. Moshe Rabbeinu brought them to travel or forced them to travel away. Und Rashi bringt es herab in Pirusha Latera, and Rashi quotes this. He see on Balkarcham. Moshe Rabbeinu forced Yidden against their will to travel away from the Yamsuf. Moshe hat gezwungen die Yidden wegzugehen von Yamsuf. Wie Chazal seine Mevayet, and this is explained in the Medrash, as Yidden seine gewähnt von Nume mit Biza Sayam. The Yidden were busy taking the Biza Sayam, which was all the money and gold and silver and many things that Mitzrayim brought along with them. And the Yamsuf spit it out, was Gedoyla Hoysam in Bizas Mitzrayim. What the Yidden had there was even greater than what they took out of Mitzrayim. And therefore the Yidden did not want to go away from the Yamsuf. Moshe Rabbeinu had to force them to go away from all these riches that they had available for them there. So this medrash is very difficult to understand. At the time of Kriyas Yamsov, the Eibishter himself in his glory revealed himself to Yidden. The Yidden haben gesagt, as Yidden themselves said, Ze Keli, Mara Noisa Betzba. This is our God, and Yidden pointed with a finger. An absolute clear revelation. Biz as Ras Ashuv Chalayam Ashaloiro Neviim. As the Medrash describes, that greatest Neviim haven't seen what a simple maidservant at the Yamsov saw. Und das hat gepeilt auf Yidden, als sie haben gesagt, Shira la Kadosh Baruch Hu divrei shvach v'yedaya. And the experience that they had and what they saw had an impact on them. That they sang and they praised the Eibishter for the great miracle. If so, the question is, Wie azay, nach dem alam. So how is it possible that after all of this, Zeni Yidden azay tarud umushka in Bizas Hayam, that Yidden should be so occupied and so immersed in what? In the riches, in the gold, in the silver that the Yam spit out. Was für ein Betreff haben bei sie gehad Kesef v'zov legabe des galus hashchilef in Kriyas Yamsuf. What significance does this money, this gold and silver have when there's such a great revelation that happened at Kriyas Yamsuf. That to me is noch starker. The wonder here is even stronger. Yidden haben doch gewusst, als bei Tziachas haben Mitzrayim Tavnes Alekim Allah Razeh. Yidden knew that when they leave Mitzrayim, they're going to Matan Torah to receive the Torah. As von Yamsuf gehen sie zu Matan Torah. Und noch mehr, even more so, sie haben gezählt die Tag bis Matan Torah. Mit Zeit sehr stoikikus zu Kabbalah HaTorah. The Yidden, when they left Mitzrayim, immediately began counting the days because of their tremendous yearning to come to receive the Torah, so they were counting the days. And wie Shayach, so how is it possible, as nach dem Malam, that after all of this, had Bizes Hayam Teifes Mocken given by Zay, that the riches that was there at the Yamsuf was so significant, mehr wie gain und heilen sich zu Matan Torah, more than going and rushing as quickly as possible to receive the Torah. Heipich von dem Zählen, the exact opposite of counting down the days, welch es gewähnt euch bejoim lekiches Bizes Hayam, on that very day they counted the day to come to Matan Torah. So muss man sagen, we must say, as das, was die Yidden haben nicht gewollt ablassen, the Bizes Hayam, the fact that the Yidden did not want to leave the riches that there was at the Yamsuf, is nicht gewähnt the Farb, was Kesef, Zov, Mitzad Atzma, hat bei sie gehat das Achshivis. It's not the silver and the gold that was significant to them that they were attached to. Nor, weil sie haben gerechnet, it was in their estimation, as das sie haben, Bizes Hayam, that this, that they're here and taking more of the riches of the Yam, is the Ratzon Hashem, that they're fulfilling the wish of Hashem by doing so. Und das is euch der Keshe zwischen dem Pirish and Bal Karcham. This explains the connection of this interpretation that Vayasa means that they left by force. Das is given mitzad der Tirde in Bizes Hayam, because they were so occupied in the Bizes Hayam, mit dem Pirish, with another pshat that it says in the pasuk here, as Yidden haben nicht gewollt weggehen von der Esgalas Hashchina de Kriyas Yamsuf. That Yidden were attached to the place and they didn't want to leave, because they were so overtaken by the revelation that there was by Kriyas Yamsuf. Seemingly two completely opposite explanations in the pasuk here. But now the Rebbe says the connection here is, weil the Hisgalas HaShchina from Kriyas Yamsuf, it's this, that there was such a tremendous revelation of Shchina at Kriyas Yamsuf, hat sie Mizares gewähnt, zu Mekayim sein Ratzon Hashem, zu vernehmen sich mit Lekichas Bizes Hayam. This itself only pushed Eden even stronger, encouraged them even more to fulfill the wish of Hashem to be occupied in taking the riches of the Yam. So what is the explanation of this? What does this mean that the Bizes Hayam was, in Yidden's understanding, fulfilling the wish of Hashem? One of the explanations for this, Oich bepashtos, just simply Valpi Halacha, and also according to Halacha, would be as follows. By Gulas Mitzrayim is given at Tzivui. When Yidden were coming to be redeemed from Mitzrayim, the Eibishter commanded V'yishalu Ishmei Yisraelu Gaimek Klikesa v'Kleizov, that they should go and borrow from their Egyptian neighbors silver and gold and take it out from Mitzrayim with them. Und der Mechuv Mizeh is given, and the purpose here was not as the Yidden sollen bakumen out of Chush Gadol, not only that Yidden should leave Mitzrayim with a lot of possessions, very rich. The point here was, as the Eibishter says, to empty out Mitzrayim. In ganzen ausländische Mitzrayim from Kesef, Zov, Cholo. Completely to empty Mitzrayim from any silver and gold that was there. Balashon Chazal, the expression the Gemara says, in two different versions, Kimitsuda she'em badagan, like a trap that has no grain left in it, the grain that is, that's placed there to trap animals to come into it. So it's a trap that's empty from grain. Or another version, Kimitsula she'em badagim, like a pond that's empty of fish. These are two analogies which are explained in Chassidus why they are used, but the point is that the mitzvah was to empty Mitzrayim from all of their money and riches and gold and silver. So if he says, so based on this, B'shas Yidden am gesehen beim Yamsuf, when Yidden saw at the Yamsuf, as bei den Mitzrim ist noch geblieben Kesef Zov, was die Yidden haben noch nicht genommen, that there was still silver and gold, that the Mitzrim still had and the Yidden did not take from them, sind sie gewähnt mechuyev, zu vernehmen sich mit Bizes Hayam, mit Zadem Tzivui, wie nicht zahltem es Mitzrayim. So in their understanding, they were obligated to fulfill the mitzvah of emptying Mitzrayim and taking all these riches along with them. Sie verhalten sich zu lieb dem von sehr gehen zu Matan Torah. So the question is, but isn't this holding them back from continuing on their route to go to receive the Torah? Is the Chabah of them, as his own gang, gleich, Gleich gain that is, Makabel sein the Torah, nit gewen kein Tzivui. This, to go and rush immediately, to go to receive the Torah, there was no command, no time frame that they had to go immediately. The mitzvah that they have here right now was a mitzvah that they had to empty out Mitzrayim. So therefore, there's nothing that they have to rush to if this is the mitzvah that they have presently. Das was der Eibishter hat gesagt. This that the Eibishter says that from Mitzrayim, Yidden are going to receive the Torah, to serve Hashem, receive the Torah at the mountain at Har Sinai, is das gesagt geworden nicht betur Tzivui. This was not said as a command, nor als a Sippur von an Inyim was wird sein beosset nach Yitzias Mitzrayim. This was said as a story, as the Eibishter relating of what's coming in the future, that Yidden will receive the Torah. Und wie Iker, klar nicht among dem Zman von Tavdom. More importantly, when the Eibishter says this, the time frame of exactly when this is, that they have to be there for at Har Sinai, was not mentioned at all. If so, can this nicht Deuche sein, dem Tzivui von V'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim, was im lo yachshav emasai. So this, that they have to go to receive the Torah, cannot push off the mitzvah that they presently have to empty Mitzrayim, to take all the riches that was there at the Yam Suf. And this is the only opportunity they have. If not now, then they'll never be able to take this along with them. So that explains what the Yidden's involvement here was. They weren't looking for the silver and the gold or the physical riches, but rather they were looking to fulfill the Eibishter's mitzvah, and this was their last opportunity to do this. But the Rebbe continues, this is aber nit maspik. This is not a sufficient explanation. Warum? Since wie bald as Moshe hat geheißen, die Yidden, sie sollen mal weggehen von Yam Suf. Moshe Rabbeinu commands Yidden that it's time to leave the Yam Suf. Ist doch Poshet, as haben verstanden, as das ist given up Yitzivui Hashem. If Moshe Rabbeinu is commanding this, it must have been according to Hashem's command. Vim kein, hodra kushila duchte. So the question comes back, that if it's coming from Hashem, Hashem is saying it's time to leave and head to Matan Torah, so then you can't justify staying here by saying that the Yidden are fulfilling the mitzvah of the Eibishter of Nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. The Eibishter himself is saying that the time of this mitzvah is up, it's time to go to Matan Torah. So to explain why this is not a contradiction to what the Yidden are doing here, that they want to fulfill the mitzvah of Nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. Even if we will accept this point here, as their master von Yidden zum Berg Sinai, that Yidden traveling to go to Har Sinai, to Matan Torah, is given an Inyan von Tzivui Hashem, was also a command of the Eibishter, but von deswegen, nevertheless, haben Yidden gehalten, the Yidden's opinion was, as me darf das abhalten, bis nachum verendigen dem Kiyum HaTzivui v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. That nevertheless, that has to be delayed or postponed until they will complete fulfilling the mitzvah of emptying out Mitzrayim. Ubefrat shebizas hayam is given kanal a mitzvah iveres. Specifically, the point here is that they're involved in a mitzvah which is in the category of a mitzvah iveres. Mitzvah iveres means a mitzvah which you only have the opportunity to do it now, and it cannot be done in any other time, and therefore they must delay going and receiving the Torah and fulfill the mitzvah that they have presently right now. In other words, the point that Rebbe is saying is, yes, true, they had a new mitzvah that the Eibishter says, we're going to Matan Torah. So now they have two mitzvahs in front of them. When it comes to a situation when a Yid has two mitzvahs in front of him, there's all kinds of rules in Torah, what mitzvah is more important and what mitzvah pushes off another mitzvah. So over here, the Yidden's opinion was, yes, there is another mitzvah now to continue to Matan Torah, but still, it's not enough to push off the present mitzvah that they're in the middle of doing. And especially that it was a mitzvah iveres. The rule is that when you have the mitzvah to learn Torah, and you have another mitzvah that comes up, which is a mitzvah iveres, that cannot be fulfilled if you're going to delay it. And the time is only now. So you have to stop learning and do the mitzvah iveres. So over here, true, there's Matan Torah, which is the mitzvah of learning Torah from the Eibishter, but the mitzvah iveres that they have now, they must fulfill and postpone going to learn Torah. And although, as the form was Moshe had say itzt geheißen avegen von Yam Suf, from the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu commands them and tells them that it's now the time that Hashem says that they have to leave and go to the Yam Suf. Und nit vernehmen sich mit bizes hayam. This itself, the Eibishter says, yes, I understand you have a mitzvah now, and it's a mitzvah iveres, but nevertheless, still, you should go and continue to Matan Torah to Har Sinai. Is a raya, so this itself proves, as the Ratzon Hashem in dem fall is given, that in this case it's an exception, and here the Eibishter's will is, as the Tzivui v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim, that this mitzvah to empty out Mitzrayim, af al pi v'zi is iveres, although this is a mitzvah which is an opportunity that's passing. It should be pushed off in order to get to learn Torah at an earlier time. Right? So unlike the rule usually that a mitzvah iveres pushes off Talmud Torah, here the Eibishter is saying that this is an exception. So true, the Yidden understood that, but nevertheless, is their Tana Zebepoil, but actually fulfilling this, their Masa, to travel away from the Yam Tov, an inyan from Bal Karacham. This could be described as something by force that it's against their will. Why? Because according to their understanding, and that's not their own personal understanding, but understanding this situation according to the rules and laws of Torah. That the Torah says that a mitzvah iveres always pushes off the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Dav zayin the din should be farendigin bizas hayam. Friya, that is, bizas hayam, to first finish the mitzvah now of getting the riches of the yam. Nit mevatel zayin dem tzivui fun v'nitzaltem es mitzrayim. Not to be mevatel the mitzvah that they're involved in now, which is an opportunity that will never come back. So yes, the Yidden Taka fulfilled the mitzvah, and they went and they continued to Matan Torah as Moshe Rabbeinu told them the Eibishter's will was. But nevertheless, the Pasuk and the Medrash describe this as Bal Karacham because it's Heipach their Havana. It's not like their understanding according to the usual rules of Torah. So this explains how what the Yidden's focus was and what the Yidden were trying to do, all according to the rules of Torah. And at the same time, why the Medrash describes this as Bal Karacham against their understanding of the way Torah usually works. Now, based on this, as those was Yidden haben sich vernommen mit Bizas Hayam, the fact that Yidden was so occupied with the Bizas Hayam is given kedei zu mekayim and dem Tzivi from v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. It was all in order to fulfill the mitzvah, to empty out Mitzrayim. Vet verenfit noch atmi in the minyan. This answers another very strong question on this subject. Was haben Yidden sich bechlal azay gekocht in Bizas Hayam? Why were Yidden so involved with such a fire, kocht, in getting the Bizas Hayam? Ad kedei kach, as mot ze gedav, zwingen zu erwecken from Yamsuf. And they had to be forced to leave the Yamsuf. Was farat teyeles? The question over here is, besides the question that I've asked earlier about the fact that they just had such tremendous godly revelations, so why are they interested in money and in gold and in silver? But besides that, practically speaking, was farat teyeles, wollen sie haben von dem Ribbui Kesef Esav gehen die Gemidbar. Here, the Yidden are traveling into a desert. What are they going to have from all this silver and gold in a desert? Eretz Ashalei Ava Ba'ish V'Layashav Adam Sham, a place where no man goes there, and they have no point in using anything of this gold and silver. Ubefrat, and more specifically and especially, as if kennen einkaufen in Yoni Yitztachus von die Tagrei Umais, to have enough in order for them during this time when they're in the Midbar, as the Gemara tells us that when Yidden were there in the Midbar, they did from time to time buy things from different merchants of the nations that were around them. Is doch of them mehr wie genug, was sie haben gehabt Kesef Esav und Bizas Mitzrayim. The Yidden had more than enough of money and gold and silver from what they already took out from Mitzrayim. Ukamayim Chazal, as the Gemara describes, as a reis geindik from Mitzrayim, that when Yidden came out of Mitzrayim, ein locha kol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael. You don't have even one Yid shelehoye imay that did not have along coming with him tishim chamayrim lubim, 90 chamayrim, 90 donkeys lubim, certain type of donkeys, to unim mikaspa v'zav v'shel Mitzrayim, loaded with the silver and gold of Mitzrayim. So you could imagine how much all Yidden had together. So they definitely had more than enough what they needed to survive being in the Midbar. And on the other hand, maybe we could say that now, before the decree of the Meraglim took place, and therefore at this point, Yidden weren't supposed to be spending 40 years in the Midbar. So therefore Yidden were thinking, as gleich nach Kriyas Yamsov, wenn sie reinkommen in Eretz Yisrael, after Kriyas Yamsov, they're going to be going directly into Eretz Yisrael. Gulas Mitzrayim would given the Gula Nitzchish Einachra Gulas. If that would have been the case, then the redemption of Mitzrayim would have been eternal, without any Gulas ever following after this. But even if that would be the case, most definitely there's no room to say, as beim Gereiten sich, zu am Matze von Gula Nitzchis, that preparing for an eternal redemption, haben Yidden gesucht zu ansammeln a Ribbe Godel von Kesef Esav. What are Yidden busy with when they're entering into such a stage, into an eternal redemption? They're busy collecting silver and gold for themselves. But Pianal is as verenfert bepashtus. But according to what we explained here, it's simply understood. Yidden sind given Eisen zum Mekayim sein Tzivui Hashem. The only reason Yidden are involved in this is because they want to fulfill the Eibishter's command. Es soll sein, v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim, to empty out Mitzrayim. Und bei Meile haben sie dabei nicht gemacht, kein Cheshbainis. So they're not making any calculations. Was Farateyeles, sie wollen haben davon. What kind of a benefit they're going to have from this silver and gold. Sie haben mit keinem gewinnt, dem Tzivi Hashem. They're here and they're fulfilling the Eibish's mitzvah. B'chol levavcha u b'chol nafshecha. With all their heart and with all their soul. Und bei Meile ist der Avegim von dort, Kaidim, Shleimus Akiyom, gewinnt, Balkarcham. So taking Yidden away. Before they can fully fulfill the mitzvah with all the whole entire Hiddur, to empty out Mitzrayim completely, is against their will, so to speak, because they feel like we're not getting the opportunity to do a passing mitzvah to its fullest extent. So that explains how this occupation of the Yidden was with a very, very holy intention. The Yom Tak Yosef, the Rebbe continues now. This will all be understood much sweeter and much better. Kol Anal, the entire explanation here, Leitin Bir Pnimi in the minyan from V'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. If we'll understand the deeper idea, and the way it's explained in Chassidus, what's really the point of emptying out Mitzrayim? The L'chayr is not move on. At first glance, this is difficult to understand. For was is given as so wichtig, that in you from V'yetze B'rechush Gadol, B'chlal, the fact that Yidden should be leaving Mitzrayim with a lot of possessions, with all the riches of Mitzrayim. What was the point of this? Bis as the Eibishter hat nicht gelost Yidden mevater sein of them. The Eibishter does not allow the Yidden to forgive or to forgo on this. The Eibishter begged Yidden that they must bring out all the riches of Mitzrayim with them. Why is this so important? No, so the answer is, so first of all, on a simple level, this is bekesher, behesen zum Ansag und mitzvahs leisese. This is connected and according to the mitzvahs leisese of Bal Tashchis, not to allow something to go to waste. And over here, Yidden have all these riches that they can take along with them, so the Eibishter wants them to take it and utilize it for a good purpose. As we see, Chazal tell us that the Eibishter has a tremendous mercy on every penny that a Yid spends, that it should be spent properly and not go to waste. So therefore, all this riches that ended up in Mitzrayim, the purpose of it is that Yidden should take it out and it shouldn't just remain in Mitzrayim and go to waste. That's one simple point. Very interesting connection of Bal Tashchis, Mainim Shal Yisrael. We're talking here about taking out the riches of Mitzrayim that wasn't yet the Yidden's, but nevertheless, Yidden have an opportunity to make it theirs and take it along with them. And this is also included, or it's connected to this point of Bal Tashchis and Atayra Chasa. This is the riches that belongs to Yidden. But then, according to Chassidus, on a deeper level, the Rechush Gadol, this tremendous riches and possessions that Yidden brought out with them, main toich the Nitzaitzis Kedusha. It's the holy sparks, was an event in the Kesav Ezav Shal Mitzrayim, that was in the silver and gold of the Mitzrayim. Und durch dem was the Kesav Ezav is Arayin l'Reshus Yisrael, and through the fact that the silver and gold entered into the possession of Yidden, zene the Nitzaitzis nis alle geworden von Ervas Haaretz, these holy sparks became elevated from the lowest place in the world here in Mitzrayim, Mitzrayim l'Reshus B'nei Yisrael, from Mitzrayim into the possession of Yidden l'Kedusha, bringing it into holiness. Und bald is the Aveda from Birer an Nitzaitzis. So this Aveda of elevating the holy sparks that there are in the world is an inyan ikri in Avedas Hashem. This is a very primary focus on a Yid serving the Eibishter. Biz as durch der Aveda führt sich durch ois die Kavanas kol abriya. This Aveda of elevating the holy sparks is bringing to fulfillment the purpose of creation b'chlal. Misava kadosh baruch hu liyis leidir b'tachteinim. Dafke, the Eibishter's desire to have a dwelling here in the lowest place in the world below. The Rebbe hat man nicht gekannt mevate sein auf dem Rechush Gadol. And therefore, this is not something that you can give on. It's not a side point, whether the Yidden will be rich, whether they won't be rich. The Yidden were screaming, let's just get out of here, whether we will be rich or not. But no, this is the whole point of why Yidden came to Mitzrayim, to elevate and bring out these holy sparks from Mitzrayim with them. By Kriyas Yamsov. And this is similar what Yidden were occupied with the riches of the Yam at the time of Kriyas Yamsov. Wissen dich dem Größnen, was wird aufgetan durch den Birer an Nitzaitzis und Bizis Hayam. The Yidden were well aware of a tremendous Aveda this is, that they're elevating the holy sparks that the Yam spit out. Haben Yidden getan die Aveda mit Größ Chayes. So Yidden were involved in this Aveda with tremendous energy. Noch mehr, even more, das Gufe, was bei Kriyas Yamsov is given is Galas Ashchinen and Eifen from Zek Keli Mara Neise Betzpa. The fact that at Kriyas Yamsov there was such a tremendous revelation, direct, that you didn't able to point to the Eibishter that was revealed, hat bei sein noch mehr verstärkt, dem reinton sich in Lekichas bis es Hayam, bis an Eifen von Bechol Moedcha. This itself only strengthened the Yidden's involvement in getting the Bizas Hayam even more, b'chol ma'itcha, even more than just b'chol avavcha, b'chol nafshecha, but completely beyond any limitations to be involved in fulfilling the Eibish's mitzvah. V'mizet, as we see, as when a Yid is Yedeo Margish, when a Yid knows and senses and feels, as the Eibishter guckt sich zu, wie is mekayim a mitzvah, the Eibishter is standing right there and is paying attention in the manner of how you're fulfilling a mitzvah, what happens then? So the mitzvah is fulfilled with a completely different attitude, with an entire involvement without any limitations. Bis, es bleibt nicht bei ihm a koyach ve'inyin, was is nicht reingetan in dem kiyam a mitzvah. There's no piece of energy, no one iota of any aspect of the person that will not be completely involved and immersed in the fulfillment of the mitzvah. And that's what was happening here. Moshe Rabbeinu sees the Yidden were involved with their greatest amount of energy in fulfilling Hashem's mitzvah to empty out Mitzrayim, to elevate these holy sparks, to create the dira for the Eibusher in the lowest elements of the world. Und das ist euch the Pirish HaPnimi in Isiyam Balkarcham. So this gives us the deeper understanding of what happened there when Moshe Rabbeinu had to force Yidden to leave the Bizas Hayam. Nicht chas v'shalom, as Yidden nach Kriyas Yamsuf, haben nicht gewollt folgen Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not, God forbid, that after Kriyas Yamsuf, the Yidden were not interested in listening to Moshe Rabbeinu. Zicher, am ze mekayim gewend, dem Tzivui, Moshe. Definitely the Yidden fulfilled the command of Moshe, was Tzivui Hashem, which is relating Hashem's command, aveging from Yamsuf, to leave the Yamsuf, b'simcha v'tuv levav. They definitely did it with joy and a glad heart. So then what does the Balkarcham mean? Balkarcham doesn't mean that they were crying, they were upset, and they were listening to Moshe Rabbeinu begrudgingly. Rather what this means is, no, the Pirish Pnimi in Balkarcham is the deeper understanding of the idea that it was by force, as das is Balkarcham from their Seichel v'havana b'teire. This is going against their understanding, the logic of the way you would understand things in Teire, be'inyam v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim, understanding this mitzvah to empty out Mitzrayim. Zayinik in ganzen areingetan in der Avedas Abirurim, because the Yidden were completely involved with every part of their energy that they had in this Aveda to elevate the holy sparks in the world, from Bizas Hayam, B'cholovavam, V'nafsham, V'mo'edam, on every level, is their uprising sich davon, so to tear themselves away of this involvement in an Eifen from Balkarcham. This is something which is against their will. Und sie tun das mitzad Kabbalah Soil. And they're doing so only because they accept what the Eibusher tells them, folgen Ratzon Hashem, to listen to what Hashem wants, that it's time to leave. So it's in that sense, because it's going against their understanding and against their involvement in a mitzvah, but at the same time, the Rebbe says it's understood, b'simcha v'tuv levav. It's done with Kabbalah soil, and it's referred to as Balkarcham because it's against their own understanding, but yet, this Balkarcham itself is being done with absolute joy and a glad heart. You say to Mizayah Shloima, here the Rebbe adds, we can go even further more and explain what happened now when Moshe Rabbeinu said that it's time to leave. Nachdem, wie der Eibusher hat geheißen, it, gehen zum Matan Torah. After the Eibusher commands that now the time is to leave, to go to Matan Torah, haben sie gewusst, so now the Yidden knew, Chotsch is nicht muvan b'seichel, even though logically they didn't understand why this is so. They're in the middle of fulfilling the purpose of creation, of elevating the holiest sparks of the Eibusher that is in the lowest place in the world. But once the Eibusher told them this, they knew, as es hat sich verendigt, der Kiyum o b'meile zman ha-mitzvah, that this is the conclusion of the fulfillment and the time of the mitzvah, the v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim, to empty out Mitzrayim. So more than just what the Rebbe said before, that it's a discussion whether one mitzvah pushes off another mitzvah, but over here, once the Eibusher commands that it's time to leave, we can say that that itself shows that this is the end. This is the end of the time frame of the mitzvah to empty out Mitzrayim. So it's not one mitzvah pushing off another. That mitzvah has ended. And therefore, nothing will be accomplished, nothing spiritually will be accomplished by continuing taking from the riches of the Yam. Al derech, simple example, v'achilas matzah, the mitzvah to eat matzah. It's eating bread of faith. Can't be anything greater than being involved in eating and taking more of the emunah of the Eibusher. Matzah, gashmis, kipshuta, matzah, even the physical matzah, eating it is machazik the emunah. It strengthens the emunah of a yid. But it's bamed dvarim amurim. When is that the case? When the achilas matzah is in the Yemei Pesach, when you eat matzah in the days of Pesach. So here the Rebbe is saying not only the night of the Seder, all days of Pesach. V'me'est aber die matzah nach Pesach. When you eat matzah on any other day of the year after Pesach, tut sich nit toif der Inyan durch der Achila. this accomplishment of matzah, strengthening the amunah of the Yid, does not happen. It's out of the time frame of the mitzvah. Warum? Der Koyach, was Achilas Matzah hatten sich lechazek amunah, the power that eating matzah has to strengthen the amunah of a Yid, hat der Eibishter reingegeben auf einen bestimmten Zman. The Eibishter puts it into only a specific time frame when that's possible. Aber nach dem Zman, after that time frame, when Achilasa is nit kein mitzvah, when eating it is not a mitzvah, this power of the matzah is not available anymore, is not there anymore. And it's the same also here with the V'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. That at that point where the Eibishter says that you have to go to Matan Torah, so the time frame of this mitzvah ends. So true, by the Yidden it wasn't understood al pi seichel, because al pi seichel, this is the greatest kavanah to elevate the holy sparks of the world. But nevertheless, this is the new mitzvah that they had, and therefore they were makabel kabbalah soil to do against what their seichel understands. That's the bal karcham. But yet at the same time, b'simcha v'tuv levav, they fulfill this gladly with joy to fulfill the Eibishter's mitzvah. From this we can take out a very fundamental instruction in serving the Eibishter. When a Yid is involved in any area to serve Hashem, you should be involved in this with all of your energy and with all of the faculties you have. Beyond any limitations. And then when you're involved in this, you don't see any room for anything else. You're totally there. As der Übergang von der Avodah to a zweite is an inyan from Bal Karchai. So much so that you're so involved there, you just see yourself in this place to the extent that thinking of anything else is against your will, it's against your present involvement. However, when you receive the command of Shulchan Aruch, Funis Pashtusu the Moshe, B'chol Dara V'Dara, the Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation, as it's daf memafsek zayin from der Aveda, that now it's time to stop of doing this Aveda, untan and at zweiter Aveda, and now to doing a different Aveda, mantzich dan von a Yidin adova v'yifuchay. What's demanded of a Yid, as we see here by Kriyas Yamsov, it's something and an opposite, two opposite things here. Von ein Seite, on one hand, is beim lechatchila der hergish. Initially, the feeling has to be as the zweite Aveda is an inyan from Bal Karchai. Has to be something which is by force. It's something that's difficult from you to separate from your present involvement. Kanal, as explained before, zayin b'chol nafsha me'oidai ibegeben zu der friedige Aveda, because you're so fully involved in this Aveda that you're doing now. But on the other hand, darf ot dit nur gufe von Bal Karchai in bringen zu al Karchach hatachai. But to use the term of the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, the very fact that you know that this is what the Eibishter wants, so yes, it's being done against your will because of your present involvement, but nevertheless, you know that that's where your life is. As al onaydin leben in the Naya Aveda, and you should begin doing your new Aveda with the same kind of energy and with the same life. A true life which is completely unlimited. In the friedige Aveda, the very fact that you were so dedicated to the Eibishter's will completely, and it was wie das completely the bitte in the Hegesh von al Karchach Kanal, and it's expressed by the fact that you're involved with such a complete truthfulness, you're totally there, and therefore it's so hard to tear you away from that. But kommt an emes achayis in the Naya Aveda. It's that very same involvement to do the Eibishter's Ratzon B'tachlis that now brings your new energy in the new Aveda that you have to do now. Und das ist euch die Heira bepoil Seifer Yeshvei Oyel und Seifer Bal Yesek. And this is the practical lesson both for those that are in the tent of Torah and those that are out in business. Yeshvei Oyel, those that are in the tent of Torah. Chosh, they darfen seinen ganzen hereingetone Limud Torah. It's their position and Aveda in life to be completely immersed and involved in learning Torah. Aber however, when Shulchan Aruch sagt, as es kommen die Zmanim von a mitzvah iveres, that there is a time period where there is a passing mitzvah, from Pekuach Nefesh, there's life that's in danger, or anything similar, was they darfen sich abreißen von Limud Torah, and therefore you have to tear yourself away from your learning. Und sich eisig sein in Atzalas Nefashis and go and save lives, afatzas ha-Torah v'ayadis, to spread Torah and Yiddishkeit, v'chulu, and things that are similar, darfen sie das tun bis simche u b'chayis. Just like their learning is with the joy and involvement with energy, now when the time calls for another mitzvah that has to be done at the same time, it should be done with the same kind of a joy and involvement. A person may make the following calculation to himself. It's much easier and better and more comfortable to be on the inside and abgeben sich im Ganzen mit Limud Torah and just to be fully dedicated day and night to learning Torah. Why should I go on the outside and be occupied outside the place of Torah? It's chutzah, it's outside. Hey, Nemes, yes, it's true. The Gemara tells us, person that says that my only way of serving Hashem, my only connection to Hashem is just learning Torah and nothing else. So then Chazal tell us that even your Torah is not a connection to Hashem. The Torah has to be complemented by also Gemilas Chasadim, acts of kindness, mitzvahs. So yes, he'll be ready to do Gemilas Chasadim and in the broader sense mitzvahs. Aber das ist nur was mir machriach as etzetan. But he's doing it as being forced to do so against his true will and where his real energy is. For a man, this is a full Torah, and really he's only doing this not because he's interested in the Gemilas Chasadim itself, but because this is itself beneficial for his learning of the Torah, which is his main and only occupation in his mind. So what we learn from here, and what we have to know is, as von dem Al-Karchach, beim Abreißen sich von Limud Torah, that yes, it has to initially be Al-Karchach, that it's against your will, that you're tearing yourself away from your learning, because the learning taka has to be fully involved, because that is your Aveda in this world, to do the Ratzon Hashem, to learn Torah with tremendous energy. But then, whatever else the Eibusha shows you have to be involved with, should be with full chayis, with energy. Ton in atzolas nefashes, afatzas atayre, vayades, v'chulu b'simcha b'chayis, to be involved in saving lives, spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit with energy, with simcha. This that anayfin, as in these manim, is das sein ganze Metzius. In those times of the day or of the year, whatever time period he is, he has to be involved in this. This should be his entire entity, should be involved in it fully. That's the lesson for the Yoshvei Yoel. Al derech says there, it's a bali esek. Similar, there's a lesson for those that are involved in work and business outside in the world. Masikar avidasam is in uvdin tavin. Their main aveda, serving the Eibishter, is with good deeds, with mitzvahs and things of Gemilas Chasadim that they do. And they also have to dedicate times to learn Torah. So they must know, as those the fact that they are also obligated to establish times to learn Torah. So this should be not only establishing a set time when they learn Torah, which is in itself very important, not just to randomly grab something to learn here or there, but actually to establish set times to learn. And there's certain amounts that are necessary according to the halacha that it says in Hilchas Talmud Torah. But that's yet not enough, because you can establish times and learn Torah, but your mind and your heart are not really fully there. But also an anayfim from kviyas benefesh, that in those time periods you should establish it and be there fully mentally, you should be fully involved. As in these manim, in those time periods when you learn, then is in ganzen areingetan in limud Torah, to be completely immersed in your learning of Torah. Punkt, wie das is by them was Torah siyam nasa. Just like those that their entire profession is just learning Torah. For those that are involved in other things, but at least in those times in the day when they do learn, it should be with the fullest involvement, as if this is the only thing that exists in their life. Like we see here by the Yidden that they fulfill the mitzvah that the Eibusha gives them with the fullest involvement, and then when there's a new mitzvah, it's initially bal karacham, but then they do it with a full simcha and chayis. Rabbi continues here now with another lesson we can take from this inyan of Yisiyam bal karacham. Another lesson we can take from this, that Moshe Rabbeinu had to force Yidden away from the Yamsuf. If we're talking over here about refining and elevating the silver and the gold physically that there is here, as the Yidden that the Yidden were so involved in this riches of the Yam, because of the holy sparks that's in them, as is on it ibelabim ken ein nitzes, was is nit mevurah, so there should not even be one spark left out that will not be refined and elevated. Allah has kama v'kama. How much more so is this the case as azoy dav zayin in the avedus abirurim, that this should be so also in the aveda of refining from the karav zayin Yidden to elevate and bring close another Yid, was then derweitet geworden von Yiddishkeit, that have been distanced of their heritage of Yiddishkeit to kiyam Torah mitzvahs, to bring them closer to fulfill Torah mitzvahs, not to leave even one Yid out. A Yid can teinen, a Yid may argue and say, I've already brought so many Yidden closer to Yiddishkeit. So I could take a rest from this work. I'm not arguing that I should just be bored and do nothing. And I'll be involved in another way of serving the Eibush, something that's more geschmack, something that's more pleasurable in my nature, for my intellect. I'll serve the Eibishter, but something that's more geschmack for me, not something that's so difficult and being on the outside and being mekar of these Yidden, since I've done that already for so many years or with so many people. So what you have to know is as follows. As a darf mit cheshbenin, wifel Yidden she mekar gewen zu teire mitzvahs. Don't keep count and don't look and say, I've done enough, I've already been mekar of enough Yidden to teire mitzvahs. Wie bald es ist noch geblieben ein Yid, was kennen der Griechen. There's even only one Yid that's left that you can reach. And hat noch nit mekar gewen. And you still did not bring him closer to Yiddishkeit. So then, bis bekommt that Zilvi from Shulchan Aruch. Until you don't get a command from Shulchan Aruch, from the Spashtusa de Moshe b'chol dara v'dara bis to the Rebbe Nesidereinu, you don't get the command from the Moshe Rabbeinu, from the Rebbe, as a yom, or the Meya, today or from today, therefore tar an ander aveda, that there's a different work that's now for you, Tarenit avegem from the Ravedit zum Mekarev zayin noch hayit zu Yiddishkeit. You may not go away from this work that you're involved in to bring another Yid and another Yid closer to Yiddishkeit. Ubemyuchad b'negei zu Yidden. This is especially true when it comes to being Mekarev another Yid. Is doch jede Yid an olam mali. Every single Yid that you bring closer is a complete world. Is afile as a Mekarev gewen asach Yid. Even if you already brought closer many Yidden. Es ist doch aber geblieben, but there's still remaining noch ein Yid, even if it's just one more Yid, was ist noch nicht niskaver geworden, that's still not close to Yiddishkeit, ist doch geblieben na ganze Welt. So this is an entire world, a full Welt, a life which is a full world, was ist nicht mevurah, that has not been yet refined and elevated. Das ist afile, this is true, even when es wird sich gered wegen ein Yid, even if there's only one Yid left to still bring closer to Yiddishkeit. Allah has kama v'kama, how much more so is this true, as in nachda kama v'kama was man darf zuziehen in die Yiddishkeit. There are still many more Yidden that have to be drawn closer to Yiddishkeit. Dafür avada liegen in them in ganzen. So definitely a person should be involved in this completely, mit seinem ganzen Chayes, with his fullest energy. And an Eifen, as wenn wir will wegnehmen von der Aveide, is das Balkarachai. To the extent that if anyone would want to pull you away from this, it should be against your will. I'm bringing Yidden, a full world, closer and elevating them to the Eibishter. Allah has kama v'kama, much more so is this true, wenn man nimmt in Betracht, when you take into consideration, as durch dem, was mis mevarer a Yidden, and is mekarevim to Teirah mitzvahs, when you refine and elevate and bring a Yid closer to Teirah mitzvahs, vet euch der Yid werden saf am mevarer. So this Yid himself will then get involved in this work itself, to go and refine. Was vet zuziehen andere Yidden zu Yiddishkeit. Now he himself will then also come and draw others closer to Yiddishkeit. Warum mitzvah geredes mitzvah? Because one mitzvah draws and brings another mitzvah, biz until ubefrat, especially mitzvahs ve'avta l'reacha kamoicha, to love another Yid like you love yourself. Azoi, as from zayin pole, from the action that you do and what you accomplished, kumen arois peiris upeire peiris, you bring that it bears fruits, and these fruits bear even more fruits to bring more Yidden closer, ad soif kol ha'olam, until we bring all Yidden of the entire world closer to the Eibishter.